Ciao, everybody, and welcome to Past the Wire TV. We're going to recap the Belmont Stakes a little bit. I know our recap is a little late, but I like to always let the adrenaline die down, the excitement of the race die down, rewatch it nice, calm, no adrenaline, bets are all over, and kind of really take it in. And we've got the Thorograph numbers on the first and second finishes. I think you're going to be surprised at what the numbers told us, what we talked about with everything leading up to this race and the races beforehand. We're also going to get a little glimpse into some of the stuff we'll be bringing you at the Saratoga meet. Of course, the Belmont meet, Royal Ascot next week, right around the corner. We're going to have some stuff on that as well. So hang tight and we will roll with, you've heard the rest. Now you'll hear the best. Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
History remembers moments of extraordinary strength, skill, and determination. True greatness is forged by those who fulfill their destiny.
Tracking trips with Pick Six King John Stetton. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit PastTheWire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
First, we'll talk about the Belmont Stakes. What can you say? Archangelo won the race. We talked about him on the Belmont show, and he got the job done. Now, what did we talk about on the Belmont show? And this is what's important. We said, looking at his sheet, he run a 10, he run a 5, he run a 1, 3 starts, 2 big forward jumps. The 1 was a very fast number going into the race. We knew that. I thought he would regress or bounce off those 2 big forward moves. We talked a lot about how reliable the Thorographs were leading up into all the Triple Crown races and even the Kentucky Oaks. We nabbed every horse as a horse with a forward moving pattern. In this particular case, it was me who was wrong, not the numbers. But interestingly, I was not 100% wrong, because what I said was I doubted he could move forward again. I thought his pattern, and it's all about the patterns, not the number, signaled a regression. So let's reread his pattern. 10, 5, 1, leading into the Belmont. He wins the Belmont, but he runs a 2 3/4. He runs slower than a slower number than he did in the Peter Pan. He regressed and won. We've got a show coming up with Jeff Franklin from Thorograph. We're going to talk a lot more about bounce, regression. There was a lot of bouncing in the Belmont Stakes. Per Jerry Brown of Thorograph, there was a lot of ground loss in this race by different horses, and that's a huge factor. So we'll keep that in mind as we discuss this. But taking nothing away from Archangelo, he won the race, but the numbers didn't lie. I misinterpreted the pattern. Okay. 10, 5, 1. And I didn't really misinterpret the pattern because he did regress. That's what I thought. I just didn't think a regression. Here's where I was wrong. I didn't think a regression was going to be good enough to win the race. I thought a 0 or 1, 1 negative rather, or 2 negative was going to be the winning number. I was wrong. They came home slow. The bottom line is, nobody in that race wanted to go to 1.5 miles. They were staggering. That happens. And that's why the numbers came back low. And that's why Archangelo was able to win off a regression. And you could see the race. You could watch the replay. He was not what I would call, quote, full of run when they were coming to the wire by any stretch of the imagination. Now, let's look at Forte. Forte went forward. All Forte had to do was run what he had been running to compete and be a factor. But Forte's pattern, and we'll just stick to his 3-year-old pattern. He went 2.5, 3.5 to a 1.5 after the vet scratch for the Derby. So, he went forward. That's his best number ever. That's his fastest race ever in the Belmont. And they came home slow, and it looked like he was really closing and kicked in late. He didn't have a very, very good trip. He was between horses. He looked uncomfortable, but he's a classy horse. He had a lot of wins. He's the 2-year-old champ. When everybody else stopped running, his heart and guts kicked in, and he was finishing and running at the winner. But I think it's a little deceptive to look at, and his race looks a little better on the surface than it truly was, because they came home slow and everybody was staggering. I'm much more respect, and I mean no disrespect to Forte. I mean, he's a champ. He ran a great second off a 70-day layoff. So I'm not knocking him by any stretch of the imagination, but I've got more respect for a horse that's finishing fast and running at horses that are finishing than a horse that's picking up horses that just don't want no part of that distance and are really staggering and doing what they have to get home. Anybody that was really wanting 1.5 miles probably would have run past all those horses. But there was just nobody in the race like that. And one of the things that took me off of the winner, Archangelo, even though he had that one, is, like I said, I thought he was going to regress. And I've never seen, and I mean no disrespect to her, but I've never seen Jenna Antonucci in that kind of situation. So I didn't know how she would handle a horse like that. I said before the race, if this horse goes forward again, he is truly special. 10, 5, 1. What are we, Superman here, going forward in leaps and bounds? But he didn't go forward again. He regressed and still won the race on a regression. We'll talk a lot about that with Jeff when he comes on the show. And really get a good feel and a good understanding of what a bounce is and how horses do bounce and win, which is something that a lot of people don't realize. It happens more frequently than you might think. And I think that's kind of what happened here. If we want to call it a bounce or not, that's, we'll get into that on the show with Jeff. But he's certainly a horse who regressed off the race and won the Belmont Stakes on a regression type of race. So with that, the Belmont Stakes is in the books. The HASKELL's coming up. The Jim Dandy's coming up. the Travers is coming up, the Pennsylvania Derby's coming up, and then after that, last man standing will have to start looking at the older horses if they want to, run in the Breeders' Cup Classic or take a shot at the championship, which right now is probably up for grabs. But I think there's 3 horses, I'll say 4 horses that really I have my eye on as the potential stars going forward. I'll start with Mage, the Derby winner. Lost in the shuffle of the Triple Crown hype is what Mage was able to accomplish in such a short period of time. He made his debut as a 3-year-old on, I believe, the Pegasus undercard. He come back, he run in the Fountain of Youth, he run in the Florida Derby, and he wins the Kentucky Derby in his 4th start without ever having started at 2 years old. It took all Forte had, and Forte showed a lot of his class and determination to beat him in the Florida Derby. And Forte was supposed to beat him in the Florida Derby. He had every edge in seasoning on Mage that day. And it was the kind of race you could watch and say, you know what? This lightly raced horse has got a lot of talent. Forte may have a hard time beating him again once he figures it all out. Because let's face it, at the time of the Florida Derby, Mage was still figuring it all out. I take nothing away from him for the race in the Preakness. He was coming back in 2 weeks. He had already accomplished an awful lot in a short period of time. He got the Kentucky Derby job done, 1.25 miles, come back in 2 weeks. He sat off a very slow pace and came up and picked up 3rd. I would be very curious to see what would have happened had Mage moved sooner and took an earlier shot at that slow pace instead of waiting as long as he did and run 3rd. So Mage is definitely an exciting horse to look forward. I don't know whether he's pointing for the Jim Dandy or the Haskell. I suspect the Haskell, but he can be a force. I think that sitting out the Belmont was the smartest move that they could have made. I think that those connections have made every right move with that horse all along. Forte, the champ. What are you going to say about him? He had every reason, if he was going to throw in a clunker, to do it in the Belmont Stakes. He plugged along. Again, they came home slow, so it looks better than it was, but he was off since the Florida Derby. Vet scratch in the Kentucky Derby, minor or not, still a vet scratch in the Derby. I got to give him his due, but there's an asterisk there. They came home slow. He was passing tiring horses. The race looks better than it was. Now let's talk about some horses that are off the radar, but might wind up back on the radar. Arabian Night was super impressive at Oaklawn. Another lightly raced horse that's probably going to come back bigger, stronger, and faster, kind of like the $6 million man did. There's another $6 million man out there, Cave Rock. Cave Rock is starting to, show up on the gallops regularly. He's definitely a horse that, if he went forward from 2 to 3, can be a force to be reckoned with. Fresh, late coming 3-year-olds to the party are dangerous. And the last one I want to talk about is one to watch is Arabian Lion. Arabian Lion won to Sir Barton, smart, and then won to Woody Stevens on the cutback, smart. I've got to think a horse like that, a lot of confidence, a lot of options. You got that big race going 7/8 on Travers Day. Obviously, he's dangerous over there. He could be dangerous in a race like the Haskell. I don't know. The Pennsylvania Derby's a mile and an eighth. You know, maybe the Travers at a mile and a quarter might be pushing it for him. But, you know, there's a lot of options for a horse like that. You know, anywhere from 7/8 to a mile and an eighth. He might be dangerous. I mean, he showed in the Sir Barton that 2 turns ain't a problem at all. So, you know, he could be, you know, a force to be reckoned with in the division as well, even without going those mile and a quarter distances. But we'll see. You know, as they get confident, you never know. But right now, I think the ones to watch going forward are Mage, Forte, Arabian Night, Cave Rock, and Arabian Lion. That's just my opinion. Angel of Empire, who I liked a lot in the Belmont Stakes, just didn't bring it. And, you know, I always bet on my own opinion, and I always go with my own opinion, and I don't care who the trainer is. Well, there's 2 exceptions. Okay, there's 2 exceptions to that. There are 2 trainers that, when I talk horses with them, I really respect them, and I really try and be a sponge and just absorb everything that they tell me. And now there's 3, because Rick Dutrow is back, and he is in that category. The other 2 are Bob Baffert and Chad Brown, and I only say that, you know, there are other guys that are that good out there, but I just don't talk horses with them, so I don't know. But when it comes to betting, I bet my opinion, okay? And I never like a blinker change going into a big race. I don't care if the horse is working with or without him. I just don't like it. When a horse runs good and you change, you know, for a big race, you know, I'm if it ain't broke, don't fix it theory kind of guy. I was a little worried about Angel of Empire putting the blinkers on. I said, you know what? Brad Cox knows what he's doing. I'm not saying that's why he lost. He didn't really have much gas in the tank when it counted. Probably doesn't want the mile and a half. Few horses do, especially at that point in their career. But all that said, you know, in hindsight, I should have went with my gut and leaned another way. But it wouldn't have mattered, because the way that I leaned wouldn't have been to Archangelo, it would have been to National Treasure, who certainly showed that he didn't want a mile and a half at all, because you know, when the real running started, he just, you know, didn't have any gas in the tank. So I think all in all, what we saw and the best takeaways from the whole Triple Crown series was Thorograph is a very, very good tool, and they were spot on in every one of those races. I messed up. All right, we pegged the Derby good, we pegged the Preakness good, we pegged the Oaks good. I messed up in the Belmont. I read the pattern and just underestimated the race itself, or overestimated the race itself, I should say. I just thought it would take a faster number to win it. It didn't. You know, a horse that regressed won, and we called him as a horse who had a pattern to regress, and he did. So again, the Thorograph was spot on with every winner. The Belmont Stakes blunder falls on me, not on the numbers at all, and my interpretation and my way of looking at it. But the numbers were there, and it was right. And if you had Archangelo, salute, you did a good job. I hope you cashed big. It was a lot of chalk, so it might have been hard, but you know, he certainly helped the cause. So with that, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little Royal Ascot, a little Saratoga, a couple of other things, and a little Belmont, and we'll wrap up this show. legend himself, Frankie Dettori. Ciao, Frankie, tutto a posto.
Tutto a posto. Yes, that's a good start. So you haven't lost your Italian.
Frankie Dettori, legend, world-class jockey, one of the best ever to sit in the saddle, ambassador to the sport of kings. Meet Frankie during his fanfare like never before, only on Past the Wire TV.
There are not many boutique meets that have the luster and star power of Royal Ascot. If you don't follow it and you love horse racing, I suggest following it. Watch those races. You can get the past performances. They're free on Daily Racing Form. They're free on Brisnet. They're free even on that Hollywood Casino website, whatever racetrack that is. I don't even know, but there's a Hollywood Casino racetrack. It's obviously not Hollywood Park, but they have free pass performances all for Royal Ascot. Phenomenal meet, huge fields. Although those of you that have followed me for a long time know that you got to be very careful with those exactas, because did I ever get burned? I think it was last year, maybe the year before, with an exacta where I had an 18-1 over like a 27-1 in a ridiculous 28 or 30 horse field or something like that. And I hit the exacta and I thought, wow, this has got to come back. Who knows? 5,000, 10,000, 20 something horses in the race, 17-1 or whatever it was. I forget, on top of 20 something to 1, but it was balloons. Came back 300. I couldn't understand. I was like, what happened? What happened? What happened? Somebody explained to me. I forget the exact explanation. I should know this. I'm a professional. You'd think I would know it. But it was something to do with they only have a limited number of payoffs for the exacta. I don't know, whatever it was. I was so disgusted I got robbed. I didn't care. But it's a great meet and there is a ton of value there. And I can tell you this, I am super excited to see some of the John Gosden horses and Daddy Gosden horses that are running there. He's got, I will tell you this, I'm not going to get into the horses now. We'll save that for some of the Royal Ascot stuff that we'll have coming out. He's got monsters, filly monsters that, like, forget about it, monsters, lawnmowers. I hope we get to see them at the Breeders' Cup over here. The Dolphins got about 4 or 5 horses that are heading there as strong as can be. We've been doing on Past the Wire this year. I did the one-on-one interview with Frankie Dettori. We've been following it. We call it Frankie's Fanfare. We've been following him all across the world in his final year in the saddle. We'll catch up with him at the Breeders' Cup at Santa Anita. But he's been phenomenal. He's been riding in stellar career form. He'll be looking to get some of his final. We got his final on Past the Wire TV. We got his final flying dismount at Dubai. Yes, we were there, Past the Wire. We got it. We'll try and get his final flying dismount at Royal Ascot. He's just been unbelievable, and we've got a bunch of articles, you know, following his whole fanfare. And I'm sure he's not going to disappoint. Now, he was supposed to ride Desert Crown, the Derby winner in England last year, for Sir Michael Stout. But I heard he got hurt, so was sick or some minor setback. But he's not running in, I think, the Prince of Wales, which is where he was going to run. So Frankie won't be riding in, but he's got some monsters for John Gosden. The Dolphins got a couple of monsters. So it should be a super, super exciting meet. We love Royal Ascot. Love it, love it, love it. And I'll try and cover it. I may try something different. I may do, because it's early in the morning over here when the races are running, maybe I'll do like a YouTube live show that people can tune into, giving some opinions on some of the cards. If I guess, I don't think I can get it up early enough, where people can see it, unless I do it a day in advance. But we'll see. We'll play it by ear and see what happens. But we've got some Saratoga footage already. We've got Jim Gazzelli already up there, boots on the ground. So we'll give you a little glimpse of Saratoga. The horses are starting to filter in. The vibe, the atmosphere is starting to come alive. I'm a Saratoga lover, made some of my biggest scores there. Just a phenomenal meet. Now I will say this, not what it was. Ever since they started extending it and extending it and extending it, they've really watered down the quality of the racing. But it's still Saratoga, and on those big days, it's special, and it's still got that vibe. Although it's a little commercial for my liking, and it's changed, but things change. Royal Ascot hasn't changed. Keeneland in the spring hasn't changed. So everything doesn't change, but a lot of things change. Del Mar, I used to love August because, it's hard to go for that long. It's hard to go July, August into Labor Day. I don't care what anybody says and go, but Saratoga by day, Del Mar by night. Does it get any better, really? If you got to do 2 cards, I'm a 1 card a day kind of guy, but if you got to do 2 cards, are there a better 2 in the world to have to do than Saratoga and Del Mar back to back? Speaking of that, on Game of Silks, at some point, you're going to be able to walk from Saratoga to Del Mar in the metaverse without ever leaving your chair. So that's all happening too. Crazy stuff out there. But we'll have this year, 2 years ago, we did Saratoga Today, a show every morning about the races in Saratoga. This year, and I think last year, but we're going to just do it on Saturdays. It's going to be Saratoga Saturday. We'll have a Saturday show every Saturday of the meet. It'll be either up Friday night or early Saturday morning, and we'll give out some horses that we like, and maybe some horses that we don't like, some angles, some interviews. Who knows what could pop up? We'll check in with some bonds, but enjoy the Saratoga vibe. We certainly will, and thank you everybody for tuning in. I think we had a good Triple Crown run. The Thorograph helped a lot. I hope you all appreciated that. We'll do more Thorograph by the numbers shows, that's for sure. Questions, send them my way. Happy to go over all of that with anybody. So appreciate the love, appreciate the support. Let me know what you think. And I'm curious, weigh in on who you guys think and gals think are the 3-year-olds, not who's the top now, who are the ones you think are the ones to watch going forward and why. Love to see that in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe, show us some love. We appreciate it. We see you all. Gio said he's got his Belmont recap up a couple of days ago. Go back and check out what we said about Archangelo on the show. It's worth it. And ciao for now. See you all soon.
And they're off in the Curlin, Florida Derby. After 3 quarters in 112-1, Known Agenda is now on to take over the lead. It's Known Agenda for St. Elias Stable. Florida Derby winner, Known Agenda.
Hi everybody, Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING, get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
Nobody does it better.